Let me extend a very warm, very cordial welcome to each and everyone this morning. Our footsteps having led us here to the Mandir physically, for those of you who have joined us in person this morning. And indeed, the click of the finger has led you all virtually to the presence of Bhagwan. For those of you who are viewing us online on both our YouTube and Facebook channels, Shubh Swagatam, may Bhagwan Ji bless us all as we join together this morning in our offering of thanks and gratitude for all of the blessings bestowed upon us by Bhagwan, as we seek the continued guidance, inspiration, and love and compassion of that most all-merciful one. As we come, we offer our problems, we offer all our troubles, and indeed we offer thanks for all of the joys and moments of victory that we have to celebrate. As we begin this morning, I invite us all to stand as we engage in invocation. And as we do so, let us gaze at the murtis before us. Whichever form of Bhagwan you find most endearing, most appealing to you, I invite you to fix your gaze on that form. As we go within, closing our eyes, these windows to the physical world, and going within, and transporting ourselves in the presence of Bhagwan, we go in with invocation. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Guru Charan Kamalebhyo Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru me Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvara Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Sudha Namostute Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagatguru Nagindraharaya Trilochanaya Bhasmangaragaya Maheshwaraya Nityaya Shuddhaya Digambaragaya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandramabedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaye Pataye Namaha. Om Manojavam Marutatulyavegyam Jetindriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Bhatatmajam Vanarayutamukam Shri Ramadutam Shirishi Namami. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Bheti, resume your seats as we join together now in opening kirtan. I invite us all now to join and to glorify that name of Bhagwan. Feel His presence and feel His love as we clap, as we sing, and as we glorify His name.
Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva. Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva. Mata Janki Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Mata Janki Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva. Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva. माता जानकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा
माता जानकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा
एक दंत दयावंत चार भुजाधारी
एक दंत दयावंत चार भुजाधारी
माथे सिंदूर सोही मूसिकी सवारी
माथे सिंदूर सोहे मूसकी सवारी
अन धन को आंख देख को दिन को काया
अन धन को आँख देख कोरियन को काया
बाजन को पुत्र देत निर्धन को माया
जन को पुत्र देत निर्धन को माया
जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा
जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा
माता जानकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा
माता जानकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा
पान चढ़ी फूल चढ़ी और चढ़ी मेवा
पान चढ़े फूल चढ़े और चढ़े मेवा
लतवन को भोग लगी संत करे सेवा
लदवन को भोग लगे संत करे सेवा
रीति सीति साथ सोही कार्तिकेय भ्राता
रीति सीति साथ सुहे कार्तिकेय भ्राता
दीन जानी शरण राखी सुफल की जय सेवा
दीन जान शरण राख सुफल कीज सेवा
जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा
जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा
माता जानकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा
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 प्रेम से बोले श्री गणेश भगवान की जय. We continue with Kirtan.
गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधार
वरनो रघुबर विमल जसु जो दायक फल चार बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरो पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार
जय 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 हनुमान
जय 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 हनुमान जय 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 हनुमान जय 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 हनुमान
जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर
जय कपीश तिहु लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन वरन विराज सुवेशा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केशा हाथ बाज और ध्वजा विराजे कांधे मूज जनेऊ सा
जगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिवे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिवे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया जय 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 हनुमान जय 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 हनुमान जय 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 हनुमान जय 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 हनुमान सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज सवारे आए सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्ष उर लाए रघुपति कीनी बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत सम भाई तुमरो यश गावे अस कही श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद शारद सहित हरीशा यम कुबेर दिक्पाल जमाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीना राम मिलाए राज पर दीना तुम्हारो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर में सब जग जाना युग सहस्र योजन पर भानु लील्योताहि मधुर फल जानू मोद्रिका मिले मुख माही जल दिलांग गए अचरज नाई दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिन पैसारे सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी शरणा तुम रक्षक काहो को डरना आपन तेज समारो आपे तीनों लोक हाकते कापे भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे जय 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 हनुमान जय 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 हनुमान जय 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 हनुमान जय 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 हनुमान नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम वचन ज्ञान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा जिनके काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोई अमित जीवन पल पावे चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नवनिधि के दाता असवर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा तुम्हारी भजन राम को पावे जन मीरा जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलवीरा जय 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 हनुमान गुसाई कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई जो शत बार पाठ कर कोई जो तेहि बंदी महासुख होई जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा होई सीधी साखी गौरी सा तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा कीजे नाथ हृदय महादेरा
पवन चले संकट हरन मंगल मूर्ति रूप
राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसहु सुरभूप जय 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 हनुमान 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 जय 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 हनुमान
सियापति रामचंद्र जी की जय
शरणं
पवन सुत हनुमान की
प्रेम से बोले श्री महावीर स्वामी की जय. Shubh Swagatam to all persons who've joined us shortly after we began. I am very, very pleased to see the numbers and the number of families and particularly young persons this morning who are attending. At this juncture in our Sunday morning satsang, we will be having our Bal Vihara class. And as was intimated some Sundays ago, this class has been resumed in person through the commitment and dedication of our teachers led by Mrs. Jayanti Devsaran and including Mrs. Shiv Mamaraj and others. At this juncture, therefore, we will invite the teachers to take the children across. We're using the annex for the purposes of having proper social distancing. So we are inviting you to move across to the annex for these Bal Vihara classes. Children who may be with us for the first time, we really encourage you to attend. There are lots of wonderful activities, including craft, coloring, and so on. If we have any elders with them who would like to just be with them for the introduction purposes, then we invite you, one of the parents or who is ever with them, to go across as well. So yes, I will encourage Satyan and Shastri. Please let him go across as well. Take him with you all, and he will just encourage him to go along. So he will be benefiting from it as well. And those of you who are viewing on, we want to encourage you strongly to make that effort and that commitment to attend on a Sunday morning, to once more introduce you or reintroduce your children to this wonderful, very positive, uplifting activity. It's a very wonderful class. The program is very well structured and we have very qualified persons who are administering and teaching the classes. So we really want to encourage all of the persons with young ones. There's so many young ones who would have been with us in person before the onset of the pandemic. And I know there's some hesitation, but we can assure you that we are doing all that we can to ensure that your children are safe and are well protected and at the same time enjoying this positive activity. Let us join our palms together as we engage in very brief pravachan this morning. Hari Om Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gagana Sadrisham Meghavarnam शुभागं लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगिभिर्ध्यानगम्यं वन्दे विष्णु भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथम् ॐ शान्ति 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 हरि ओम। प्रेम से बोले श्री विष्णु भगवान की जय। I'm sure you will agree with me that today is a very beautiful morning. Why, Panditji, why is today a beautiful morning? Because we have life. When we get up this morning, we had the opportunity to open our eyes, to breathe in air, to get off of our beds, and to make that deliberate choice to come to Mandir and to satsang this morning. And for that, we must give thanks to God, because there are so many persons who do not have that opportunity. This morning, or today rather, is Purnima. And therefore, Mrs. Auntie Samde sat this morning, and Satnarayan Swami Puja was performed. And she did so with love, and she did so with dedication, and she did so with that bhav that is recommended to us whenever and wherever we perform puja. Auntie Ji has provided refreshments for us all after, so please partake of those refreshments. But this morning's activities will be a little different, and I'll allude to that shortly. So it's a wonderful day, and today is Purnima. Satnarayan Swami Puja has been performed. But more than that, today as well in our Panchang has been set aside as Buddha Jayanti. Buddha Jayanti. And we might find it curious and say, well, why is that set aside in our Panchang when Buddha is regarded as the focal point of that Buddhist philosophy? And the reason is, to begin with, in our Vedas, there is the profound statement, Ekam Sat, truth is one, Vipra Bharu Bharanti. Wise persons know that truth to be obtained or to be realized through different pathways. And I'm just surmising. So it is our tradition to embrace all pathways. That is our tradition. Hinduism, Sanatanism does not speak about this whole concept of conversion. That's not our tradition. So whatever pathway you follow, it is recognized that that pathway should be founded on certain principles of universal truths, as is Buddhism. And once you adhere to those universal truths, then you are Hindu. That is our philosophy. So Buddha was not someone who was unlike you and I, in the sense that born into a home, loved by his family, going about his daily business and affairs and so on. What was different, however, and where was he born? He was born in the area of Nepal in India. So he was born into an aristocratic family, a royal family, we may want to say. And his parents, very much like all of the parents who are here, thought it in the best interest of their child to protect and to shield him from all of the vagaries of the world. I don't think there's a single parent who is either here physically or looking on that would not subscribe to the view that as a parent you would want to try to do all in your power to shield your child from any kind of harm. Isn't that so? And everybody is shaking their head. That's why even at this point in time, there's the reluctance of many parents to send their children out to schools, to various extra and co-curricular activities, and even to the mandir, because the pandemic is still with us. So many, many, many parents are reluctant and hesitant because they want to protect their child. And so too it was with the parents of Siddhartha Gautam. That was his name. And so he was raised in an environment that was very protective. And very interestingly, he was never exposed to any sorrow, any hardship, any difficulty in the world. Until that point in time when he was able, on his own volition, to move out of the protective circle of his parents, and when he wandered into society, and the reality of society actually hit him with the profound recognition that what he thought was normal and was usual was in fact not so, and that there was in society, as part of the profound reality, much pain, much suffering, much sickness, much hardship. And he was profoundly struck by the suffering of mankind. And it is said on this day, the Purnima would have been when he attained that enlightenment that allowed him then to teach and to provide that example that so many millions in this world now follow as Buddhist philosophy. And Buddhism is not very different from Hinduism. There are certain parts of Hinduism that found a very fundamental part of Buddhist philosophy. And one of those is the whole concept of ahimsa or nonviolence. That is a profound part of Hinduism, ahimsa or nonviolence, in thought, in word, and in action. And that is something that is highly recommended to us as Sanatana Hindus. And we know that, but sometimes it is difficult to assimilate that and to put it into practice. So ahimsa is one of the fundamental teachings of Buddhism. Another one is the benefit of meditation, another teaching of Hinduism. Another one would be being vegetarian, another teaching of Hinduism. So when we look at it, it's very, very similar in those profound truths. Now, if we capture that and we juxtapose that, well, why are we performing Satnarayan Swami Puja and why am I speaking about Buddha Jayanti? Satnarayan Swami Puja is that puja that we perform to Vishnu Bhagwan. And it is a puja and a process that is recommended to us in our Puranas. Skanda Puran, Reva Kand, tells us about the conversation between Narad Muni and Vishnu Bhagwan. The former, Narad Muni, had the opportunity, very much like Buddha, to wander around society where we live and to observe firsthand the predicament and circumstance of man. Man who Vishnu Bhagwan would treat as his best friend and devotee. And when he wandered around, he saw the same thing that Buddha saw: pain, suffering, hardship, sickness. Is it any different, brothers and sisters, from what we see now today in our society? And the answer is no. Hasn't changed. Hasn't changed. And in this past week, 2 weeks, in this country, we have witnessed atrocities and tragedies that are beyond description and beyond compare. And I'm not going to rehash it in detail, but just yesterday I was thinking that we have become, unfortunately, and are becoming even more so by the days and weeks, desensitized to the pain and suffering that is being experienced by our brothers and sisters in this country, in our region, and indeed globally, that it just becomes, quote unquote, almost normal to see it happening. And that is very, very, very worrying. What have we witnessed? So many acts of violence committed by men against women. So many acts of violence being committed by men against women, resulting in death. By extension, by men against children, also resulting in death. And don't think for one moment it is one-sided. Just yesterday it was reported about an incident where a woman reciprocated that act of violence on a man. So it is prevalent regardless of gender. We've witnessed the tragic loss of a young 2-year-old. Our mind is still boggled by it in terms of how could that have happened? And what is the instantaneous reaction for many people? To find a place to put that blame. That's the immediate instinctive reaction. To find a place to put that blame. We're not commiserating with anybody, we're not offering empathy, sorrow, prayer. The instinctive reaction now is to blame somebody for what has happened. And I want us to think about the descent that we are going into as a society, that we are in, not going into. A couple of weeks ago, there was the vandalism of the church in Port of Spain. Things stolen, a figurine smashed, vandalism occurred. Closer to home, we saw what happened at the Shiv Mandir. And think about it, these are things that are not happening by happenstance or just coincidence. This is a descent by the culture and psyche of persons into a very dark spiral. So it's not sufficient to go in and steal anymore, but it is now moving into the realm of desecration. And let us think about that. These acts are being committed by individuals, not by machines, not by a drone, not by some robot, but by individuals, all of them who have lost their way and are now bent upon committing these acts. And we must ask ourselves, why have persons lost their way? Why have they lost their way? And there are many reasons and answers that can be proffered. We can sit here for days and weeks to try and understand what has happened. And very often, as right-thinking members of society, we ourselves become very disillusioned. We become very disenchanted. And sometimes we want to throw our hands up in the air, as many have done, and say, I give up. I give up. This country has nothing more for me. This country has nothing more for my children. The best thing I can do is migrate, as so many thousands have done. Not so? I'm sure everybody sitting here knows of some family member, friend, relative, acquaintance who has made the decision to migrate and has gone. Not so? But that's nothing new. So sometimes we are in the midst of it and we think this is a new phenomenon when it's not new. Think of all our brothers and sisters from Venezuela who choose to leave there and come here in search of a better life. So that cycle perpetuates itself regardless of where you go. Just recently in Toronto, Canada, there's the whole thing about the atrocities being committed on the underground. Persons are shoving people into the pathway of trains. So you want to think that North America is a safe place? Think again. Wherever you go, there are dangers and vagaries. To differing extents, yes, but there are dangers there. So what do? Do we give up? And I want to strongly urge us to not give up. To take the difficulties and challenges and tragedies that come in stride. And to do the things that are recommended to us by Scripture. So Satnarayan Swami Puja, which has been recommended to us by Vishnu Bhagwan, by Sutji Maharaj and others, is really a reminder for us to fortify ourselves, to empower ourselves, to strengthen ourselves, so that we can withstand the vagaries that come. And when we listen to each and every incident that occurred in Satnarayan Swami Katha, whether it is the poor Brahman, the woodcutter, the merchant, his daughter, the king, whoever it is, and time will not permit us to go into each one, the circumstances were the same. If you are fortified by the blessing and strength of God, then you can withstand anything that comes your way. And how do we do that? Well, I will say very, very certainly, we cannot, I cannot, and I dare say none of us can, sit by ourselves in an isolated place and do it ourselves. It will be much more difficult, it will be harder, and sometimes impossible. Why? Think about it truthfully now. As I have been speaking for the past 15 minutes or so, I hope not too long, think about where your mind and your thoughts were. God, this Pandit talking so long. It's been so hard. I wonder what the children doing next door. I wonder when I have to go home and cook. And many thoughts keep jumping in and out of our mind. So as much as we try, if we try to do this on our own, it's a very difficult thing. But if we try to do it together, we be our brother's keeper, then it becomes easier. When Hanuman Chalisa is being sung and we are singing along, our mind gets that sense of control and purpose. For at least 5 to 10 minutes, we are singing the glories of Hanuman Chalisa. And that is a positive thing that sometimes we forget about. So therefore, it's important for us to find ourselves in settings like this, where satsang and puja and fellowship of like-minded individuals of a positive way are being inculcated. It's very easy on a Sunday morning to say, you know what, I could look at that, they have that on YouTube, now I don't bother to go Mandir anymore. As so many persons have decided to do. Look at the space next to you. Look at it, look at the space next to you, where the yellow sticker is. In 2019 and prior to March 2020, that space was filled. Not so? I could sit here and call the names because I know it in my head of all of the persons who would have attended Mandir, all of the children and young children who would be here and participate and build themselves up. But they're not here anymore. Why? Why are they not here anymore? Why is it that some persons think that coming to Mandir is no longer important? Why is it that so many people think now that going to puja or yagya or going to a positive class, whether it is music or yoga or dance, is no longer important? Why is that? And we need to be careful, because you see the atrocities that are being committed, and the individuals who are committing those atrocities, they had a similar thought some time ago. And they fostered that thought into an action, they fostered that action into an habit, and that is what led them to committing the atrocities that they're doing now, in the main. So we need to be very careful about the decisions that we make now, that the seeds that we plant now, for ourselves, our children, our family, and to understand the trajectory and where that decision will lead in years to come. Too many times, I've had people come to me, Panditji, I don't know what to do anymore with these children. They're not listening. And all I could do is smile and say, I'm so sorry to hear that. But if we were to dissect that situation and look at the choices and decisions that led to that point, we would understand why it's gotten there. In the main, there are exceptions. So brothers and sisters, you all have made the decisions to come to Mandir. You've made the decisions to include your family and your children in part of our rich tradition. You've made the decision to fortify yourselves and your families against the vagaries that we are encountering, have encountered, and will continue to encounter in the future, regardless of where we are in the world. That is the reality. And Bhagwan has given us the prescription, and there are examples. Buddha is an example of the difference that one person could make. Think about it. One person. He has influenced the life of millions and millions of persons. One person. This is not fictional. This is not a narrative. This is reality. And we have so many modern day realities of one person making a difference. Well, I am just a simple person. I am a teacher. I am a taxi driver. How can I make a difference? Believe you me, you can. We all can. And if we make a difference, firstly by fortifying ourselves, doing the things that we ought to do, as put down in our scriptures, we make the decision to influence our families, the places where we work. You know, just this week, I had a situation at work. And when confronted with that situation, I lost it. I was so angry. But thank God for the discipline and the training and the benefit of Mandir and Puja and Sanskars and so on. I didn't say a word. If you looked at me, you would not have known I lost it. But inside, I had lost it. And you know, you tell your children, take a time out. I took a time out. And I breathed. Devendra always speaks about pranayama. When we go to yoga class, our teacher always speaks about breathing. And I listened to that, it resonated in me, and I breathed. And I said, you know what? I can make the decision to explode. I could target the individual who upset me. And I could, as we would say, let them have it. I could, release my whole mind. Or I could say, you know what? By doing that, I'm just aggravating myself even further. Let that person deal with their situation or deal with their business, and I will move on and forget that. And I found that I'm happier. My blood pressure didn't go up. Wasn't angry. And that is the philosophy that comes with fortifying yourself. That's not to say I don't lose it. Ask my children, they will tell you. But gradually you try to mitigate that situation and become more and more equipoised in your reactions, more circumspect. Sometimes I tell people, we mustn't react, You must think about what the situation is before you act, not react. Very often we react. Somebody bad drive you, the first thing you want to do is road rage. You're going back at them. Where does that lead us? A sense of satisfaction? That's a false sense of satisfaction. You put yourself and others in more danger by that. The children behave badly. What is the reaction? Sometimes you want to lash out, verbally and otherwise. Is that going to solve the problem? Not necessarily. That might worsen the problem. So we must think about it. And one of the things I want to end with, that has been prescribed by our scripture, that has been stated in Skanda Puran, Satnarayan Swami Puja, that has been practiced by Lord Buddha and others, is the concept of meditation. So we're going to chant the Gayatri Mantra 3 times. And as we said, and we keep saying, this is a very powerful mantra. It is something that has been given to all of us by our tradition. And when you understand that mantra and the potency of it, the soul, one of the soul focal points, the focal points of that mantra is our intellect being refined so that our decision making will be accurate and will be positive and be uplifting. Our decision making. And if we put that into practice, and by extension those around us, slowly but surely, we will not only change ourselves and our families, but we will change our community, we will change our country for a positive. Believe you me. Let us sit upright, we breathe in, and we chant the Gayatri 3 times. Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. I now invite us all to come forward and perform our arati. After arati, there will be a little difference this morning. When we finish arati, I am not going to end with closing prayer. So we'll have arati and we'll have the Purnahuti prior to that. And then this morning is a very important day in our Mandir's activities. Our mandir, which belongs to every single person here, and vicariously those looking on, it's not my mandir. It's not Auntie Samday's mandir. It is not Auntie Shanti's mandir. It is not Maldeva's mandir or Mala's mandir or anybody. It is our mandir. And your management committee, and our mandir, just for a very brief introduction, is governed by a management committee, which you as the financial members elect every year via an AGM, and by the constitution, the AGM is always on the third Sunday in the month of May. Third Sunday in the month of May. And so you get the opportunity to elect persons to the management committee today. There are 5 openings in a management committee that ostensibly comprises of 15 people. 2 are ex officio members, that's the president of the Sri Sivak Sabha and the president of the youth group, who would stand on that committee by virtue of their positions. The other members are elected. And 5 members are being elected this morning by you all, by us. And so I want you all, after we end, to stay behind, because we have the opportunity as an organization that is trying its very best to do the right thing always, to present to you the activities or the reports of what we've been doing. What are the various things we've been doing? And our secretary, Mrs. Mala Bahadur Singh, will present that report. Sometimes the area of most interest, what about the money? All the money that we give in. So our treasurer will give a report about what we've been doing. We're always very transparent and open about this. And so you will have that report as well. Our chairman will give a report and an overview, and he will make an earnest plea that we're asking for people to commit themselves to serve on the management committee, not because you could want to say, I want to be on the management committee, but because we regard your value added, your efforts, your expertise, your time, to keep this institution running, so that long after we've gone, others will have the benefit of this institution. And I'm using that word because in the 1950s, when it was a kutia, that was the vision. In the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the various persons who filled the roles and did so with distinction had a vision. We must have a vision. And therefore it is that we're going to have that election. And I want everybody to be here. And if you stay here, you're getting a roti after. They tell you, come to a political party and vote, you'll get a t-shirt and some food. Well, we don't have the t-shirt, unless you want to buy one from Vishnu. But we have the food. So I want everybody to stay. It's not going to be long. If anybody start talking too long, I'm getting up and blowing my shank, and that's done. We have to be to the point, brief, but very transparent, and that's what we're going to do. So for the next 15 minutes, you're going to have RT. So I'll hand over to the group, and they are going. And while you're going, please put on your gloves and so on. And once that's done, then we will have the Purnahuti, and then we sit back down, and we're going to stay here for about an hour or thereabouts, right? And then we're going to leave after that. So I hand over to the group. Please come forward, perform your RT.
Jai Narayana Swami Narayana Jai Narayana Jai Jai Narayana Narayana Hari Hari Swami Narayana Narayana Hari Hari Jai Jai Narayana Narayana Hari Hari Swami Narayana Narayana Hari Hari Teri leela sabse nyari nyari Hari Hari Teri leela sabse nyari nyari Hari Hari Teri mahima प्रभु है प्यारी प्यारी हरि हरि जय जय नारायण नारायण हरि हरि स्वामी नारायण नारायण हरि हरि अलख निरंजन भव भय भंजन जन मन रंजन दाता, जन मन रंजन दाता। हमें शरण दे अपने चरण में, कर अब है जगत्राता, कर निर्भय जगत्राता। तूने लाखों की नैया ताली ताली, हरि हरि जय जय नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि स्वामी नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि। प्रभु का नाम का परस जो छूने, वो हो जाए सोना,
हो जाए सोना।
दो अक्षर का शब्द से हरी है, लेकिन बड़ा सलोना,
लेकिन बड़ा सलोना।
उसने संकट की ताली भारी भारी, हरि हरि जय जय नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि स्वामी नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि। जय जय नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि स्वामी नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि जय जय नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि स्वामी नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि। तेरी लीला सबसे न्यारी न्यारी, हरि हरि तेरी लीला सबसे न्यारी न्यारी, हरि हरि। तेरी महिमा, तेरी महिमा, तेरी महिमा सब है प्यारी प्यारी, हरि हरि जय जय नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि स्वामी नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि जय जय नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि स्वामी नारायण नारायण, हरि हरि।
This will be our final bhajan, and then we will have Aarti thereafter.
प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम 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 श्री राम राम राम।
प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम 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 श्री राम राम राम।
प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम 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 श्री राम राम राम।
प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम 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 Please stand for Aarti. Om Jai Jagadish Hari, Swami Jai Jagadish Hari, भक्त जनों के संकट, दास जनों के संकट, क्षण में दूर करे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, जो ध्यावे फल पावे, दुख बिन से मन का। स्वामी दुख बिन से मन का, सुख संपत्ति घर आवे, सुख संपत्ति घर आवे, कष्ट मिटे तन का। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, मात पिता तुम मेरे, शरण कहूँ किसकी। स्वामी शरण कहूँ किसकी, तुम बिन और न दूजा, तुम बिन और न दूजा, आश करो जिसकी। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, तुम पूर्ण परमात्मा, तुम अंतर्यामी। स्वामी तुम अंतर्यामी, पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर, पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर, तुम सबके स्वामी। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, तन मन धन सब है तेरा, स्वामी सब कुछ है तेरा। तेरा तुझको अर्पण, तेरा तुझको अर्पण, क्या लागे मेरा। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे, स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे। भक्त जनों के संकट, दास जनों के संकट, क्षण में दूर करे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे।
Hari Om. As we conclude our puja this morning, we give thanks to you, Bhagwan, for all of the blessings that you continue to bestow upon each and every one of us. We ask for your guidance, we ask for your inspiration, we ask for your protection. May you bless us all. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sika Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. प्रेम से बोले श्री गणेश भगवान की जय, उमापति महादेव की जय, बिंद्रावन बिहारी लाल की जय, आज शक्ति जगदम्बा देवी मैया की जय, श्री पवन पुत्र हनुमान की जय, श्री सत्यनारायण स्वामी की जय, प्रेम से बोले श्री सच्चे सनातन धर्म की जय। Turn to those around you. सबको जय सीताराम, जय सीताराम, जय सीताराम। Brothers and sisters, I invite you to have your seats, please, at this moment, and I would want to invite the chairman of the management committee to take the podium while arrangements are being put in place. So if we could just have a table to the front here, just for the treasurer, the secretary. Those are the two persons who are presenting reports.